The first panel of GDF discussed how the United States can use its foreign assistance and development finance toolbox to effectively accelerate nearshoring in the Americas. Panelists discussed the fundamental drivers of nearshoring, the environmental impacts of moving manufacturing away from Asia to Latin America, and the kind of policies necessary for such a shift.
Governments can provide incentives for companies to reshore, to nearshore, to diversify suppliers. As Fabrizio mentioned, governments can put in place the right policy framework to promote integration, infrastructure, lower trade costs, etc., etc.
They also looked at how manufacturing and nearshoring possibilities continue to be restricted by COVID-19, which has fundamentally reconfigured and disrupted supply chains.
What is the new reality? As we've talked here, most experts predict that the end of these issues are not even close to resolution, and that it might never go back to what it was before the pandemic. So we need to adapt quickly to this new reality. We have to learn from the past.
Panel 2 of GDF explored how new tools and approaches can ensure investments in renewable energy projects that drive a transition to a more sustainable global economy. Panelists discussed how the energy transition must be region-specific and on the need to sometimes prioritize development over completely climate-neutral energy solutions.
Every part of the globe isn't starting in the same location or the same setting today.
So a country that's aspiring to industrialization can't really deploy clean energy to everything yet.
Finally, the group addressed future steps, such as the need to expand mining and/or blended finance to fuel energy transition projects. Luis Abinader, president of the Dominican Republic, delivered the keynote address on day one of GDF, in which he touched on economic and regional lessons learned from COVID-19.
Attracting greater flows of foreign direct investment is vital in the current and post-pandemic stages, characterized by readjustment of shorter and less fragmented global value chains.
The president also addressed prospects for nearshoring in the Americas, the U.S.-Dominican Republic relationship, and future opportunities for regional cooperation and advancement, including at the 2022 Summit of the Americas.
In that summit, we have to look for a creative and a special collaboration in the economic, on the promoting democracy, transparency and fighting against corruption.
Day 2 of GDF opened with an armchair discussion between Michelle Samalis, Assistant to the Administrator for Policy at USAID, and Dan Rundy, Senior Vice President at CSIS. Michelle provided insights on the top development priorities of the Biden-Harris administration and the need to recognize corruption as an obstacle to achieving development goals.
Also, the most important part probably is integrating and mainstreaming anti-corruption across all of USAID's programs, including our work in health, climate change, key country programs, regional focus countries.
Michelle also discussed how collaboration amongst stakeholders to achieve a sustainable energy transition must include marginalized communities.
We are also super focused in this area on not leaving behind those who have typically not been included in program design and implementation, indigenous communities, women, youth, people who are most impacted by climate change.
Panel 3 discussed novel approaches that U.S. bilateral agencies can take to strengthen digital transformation in developing countries. The panel discussed the impact of the pandemic on the uptake of technologies, the digital revolution in Kenya, and priorities of the Biden-Harris administration in this space.
The way these systems and the internet and the digital economy is governed is really important. And it's important that it happens in a way that ensures a multi-stakeholder approach that affirms human rights and freedom of expression, but also that it ensures security.
They also touched on barriers to developing digital infrastructure and expanding access to technologies.
So this is no longer a question of availability, but instead about affordability of these devices and services that preclude a big fraction of the populations, those in fact that are in most need of development and support, from benefiting from this exponential growth of the fourth industrial revolution. So,
The final panel of GDF explored how the U.S. can better utilize its bilateral and multilateral aid apparatus to counter efforts by China and Russia to garner support from developing countries. Panelists discussed the state of great power competition and how aid functions as a foreign policy tool.
Foreign assistance is a tool that does indeed carry leverage and can impact the views, the perceptions of foreign communities.
They also discussed areas for improvement within aid programs and explored the strengths of the U.S. aid model.
But the problem is now we have the sectors of dominating development in a very dysfunctional way. So I think we need to move back to a geographic-based as opposed to sector-based accounts.
And this is competition, but it's competition that benefits countries. It's a partnership. And that's why we think we actually have a winning proposal.
We hope you enjoyed this year's Global Development Forum.